Would you mind introducing yourself?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm John Cuda here. I'm just doing a project with DSGeo. We're working on some kind of an MT inversion. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to join and kind of observe and see how this all works.
Cool. Well, we're glad you're here.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Do you know everybody in the room?
Some familiar faces, yes.
So we've met. Soggy's over here.
Hi, John.
Hello, Sagi.
And then we've got Dom, Mike, and Thibaut.
Hi, John.
Yeah, hello. Nice to meet you all.
What's this?
Very nice. Yeah, so today we have done a whole bunch of, there's been a bunch of work done on the DC codes. So it's a chance to chat about that, chat about some conventions, and like, now that we've got multiple people in a code base, just trying to come up with standards and follow some of the Python standards that are already out there.
Yeah.
I was gonna maybe just start a Google Doc, and we can keep track of some things. So, let's see.
He's not pressing.
No. It's like the org that usually comes back to around 0.3. Or the 2D, it's much closer to 1.
All right, I will post this.
I look at how plot each component has like the 2 dots overlaid though. All the components look
Good.
Okay, so the Google Doc is on Slack. I'll just share my screen here.
I'm talking about that's the geometry.
Yeah, so
We're pretty close.
I think yes, I rewrote Telegraph.
Okay.
But
The dimensions.
yeah, but I was like I wasn't really kind of like going through all the operators, but I was using more like mathematical properties. I using divergence operator, but finding like equivalent, what is equivalent transpose or equivalent gradient from basic inversions. Like just looking at that is actually pretty good. So compared with analytics, that's fine. But the order seems like there's something wrong. So
It is.
This is the Cellgrad in.
yeah, so we played with it a little bit. Yeah, we could show you guys later.
Okay.
there's some areas around the boundaries still where it's all size change.
Cool.
It's pretty subtle.
All the way around on the boundaries.
Well, so like the little test here that we have for all people as operators is just like a refined sphere in the center. And then as you move away from it, like you have constant size on still throughout. But so just all the way around that sphere, where we can still size change.
Yeah, that's because
stuff.
the ending faces, this one is only doing on the ending faces, not doing the whole face. That's probably why.
Oh, I see. Yeah, so there was a little bit of errors when.
Cool. So I've put down just like a couple items. Do you guys want to add to this of like things that you want to talk about or make sure that we cover today? Unfortunately, if Travis isn't working, we're not going to be able to get the pull request actually in, but we can work on cleaning up some stuff and getting things closer to passing.
Right.
Because I think I know what the issue is with the regularization, because there was a lot of stuff that changed in those files that would have broken the behavior.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Can we like run locally though? Like run the test locally,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
let's make sure that that's at least passing a local machine.
Yeah, absolutely. So the things that, so I went through this pull request. I did not get through the other one, mostly because first we need to resolve the merge conflicts, and then it's actually worth looking at. Otherwise, it's muddled and it's not worth looking at. You too. So yeah, but that's fine. There's plenty here to chat about. So the things that stood out to me, there's a lot with conventions and like PEP 8 and stuff like that, and naming conventions for things that we just need to chat about and try and standardize a bit. Yes, you go.
The list I would also had
Yeah.
String decks.
Yeah, and then let's talk about Sphinx and how the Sphinx documentation works and like what the standards are for that.
Yeah, and what we want to do, like you guys talked about like Watersheet and like Dave, where like so many of the functions have just changed within the process. So just very reliably for that.
And that's a good point. I think authorship and like how we do attribution. I was looking around, and Rowan had a good comment on the way that Leo does it in Fadiando. And I also looked at the way that SciPy does it.
Okay.
And I think that we can follow sort of their conventions.
Okay.
Essentially, but that's absolutely something to talk about.
Sounds good.
John, feel free to chime in if there's stuff that we start talking about that you're unfamiliar with or have questions on.
Oh yeah, for sure. Actually, this is just perfect. I was really wanted to get into these formats. That's kind of why I was a little bit quiet, just because yeah, I need to learn a lot of this stuff. But it seems like a good opportunity.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, and probably a little bit of I/O. Like we need at least some I/O. I'm not really sticking to something, but
this is actually probably going to be closely related to properties.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that will be very.
Maybe like I thought the things quickly, but for a conversation on Slack is sorry about that. But for example, on the current pull request and DC, like we have an I/O class, a survey design class, and static utils.
Yeah.
And there is like a lot of overlaps between the three. And I guess we need to think, before merging, we need to think a bit about the organization of these three things.
Yeah.
Because like, for example, like the geometric factor is in all three of them, but it's but it's different functions that are like, written by different authors of the different, and it's only tested in the static utils, for example.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I like it as a utils, like don't mind like we can have like having the geometric factor like maybe define at one place and then having the utils or the I/O everything it, but just like tested, etc. That's also why I spend a lot of time, for example, on the static utils, because like you had a function like got to the section that was doing all the calculation internally, but you only had access to the graph. So you had no idea that was right.
Right.
Yeah, and then it's a great point. And similar, but so this is a kind of core. There are like other packages related, like IP, spectral IPs, SP. So they are basically all the same, like not exactly same physics, but very similar physics, and the code itself is pretty similar.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of sharing pieces. So I think it's probably good to like just chat how do we organize this and then inside, and also because like they could be a little bit different outside and inside. So it'll be kind of good to chat of how do we want to organize it.
Yeah. One thing I think that actually came as like immediately evident to me that will extend to this, but is first of all within the DC package is so the storage of the sensitivity and the calculation of JVEC. We're copy pasting, like we're repeating all of the code, which we shouldn't be doing, because that means then that we have to maintain two versions. So that extends to these ideas here of like just properly inheriting and abstracting code. So that gives us maybe one concrete example. Sure, there are some differences between JVEC and JFull, but like there's a lot of lines of code there that are absolutely identical.
Yeah.
So those are things that like before we actually think about inheriting the package, we first need to get the DC right.
That sounds
So-
great. Okay.
Can we also get rid of DC? We have SimPEG DC still.
There's nothing in it.
I know.
Oh, no, I think that was on purpose.
Oh, okay.
So I was following NSCM. So I was like, rather than importing from SimPEG static DC.
Calls that DC.
Yeah, I just import from SimPEG DC.
Okay.
That's
Yeah, I think
That
that's
was-
a good idea. Otherwise, to bury like for new users. to
yeah,
find
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I thought it was just a relic from the forward.
Oh, no.
No, it's yeah.
Yeah, we used to have that SimPEG DC a while. I don't have it.
Okay. So I think the place to start is PEP 8. And just doing a bit of an overview of that, because that's going to lead into conversations on naming conventions and all of that.
Sounds good.
And bracketing levels. And I realized that like some of these things seem silly, but it actually was really evident to me, like going through a 4,000 line pull request. It's so hard to do when people are using like different bracketing annotations and stuff like that. Whereas if everything is consistent, it's like so much easier to see what's changed. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's like some motivation, I guess. Here, okay, so I'm gonna put this on Slack. This is the PEP 8 style guide. So first of all, do you guys know what a PEP is?
You told us before.
PEP?
I have no idea.
Python Enhancement Proposal.
Okay.
So these come in periodically, and there's, I don't know, they're up to like 200 or 300, I think. But that's how discussions happen before the code changes. And so this was a pretty early one just on like style guides. And there might be some things that like don't necessarily agree with, but at the same time, standardizing to like something is better than nothing. So they've already decided on this. So I think we don't need to go through like all of the details, but I think here are some of the things. So indentation levels, the convention that I actually think is the easiest to read is this. So anytime you open a bracket, tab, and then close bracket on the same level, out of all of, like, there's options, but I find that the most readable.
Here's the second line, is a single tab. Is that the, or is this two tabs?
That's a single tab.
Single tab.
Yeah.
Or
right.
spaces.
Yeah.
That's even for really short lines that wouldn't exceed the line length.
Oh no, if it doesn't exceed the line length, that's fine.
Because it doesn't look like there's any way that example.
So this one probably wouldn't, but maybe for some reason they wanted to like lay this out, and that's fine. If it's not going to break over the line, you can keep it on one line. That's
What
totally
happens
fine.
if it's like going over the line, like one character?
Indent it,
You break it.
break it. Yeah.
That's just noise that I'll have in my
And then
Yeah.
nothing on the open bracket, nothing.
Nothing on the open bracket.
If you break.
Break the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah. And then two, same thing with like a class name or a function name. If your list of inputs is too long, then this bracket just ends with the colon there. Does that make sense? So let's pull up some SimPEG somewhere. Let me put this on this. So if we look, I don't know. For example, if this W had a whole bunch of inputs, what you could do is this.
Oh.
Does that make sense?
Oh. Oh, I thought, like, I didn't know that's possible because
Yeah.
I always just made a big list.
Yeah. No, so this is totally possible, and it can continue with whatever something is default.
Okay, so this is a convention that we're just talking about, it's just for
Yeah.
function calls.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Oh, that's nice.
There is a page in the SimPEG docs I've worked on updating some of the documentation. There's a pull request on, and I would love some input on that. You might just have to build them locally to like take a look. So that is this pull request here, this docs and community. And so what I've tried to do is outline just a few of the details on conventions, where to find stuff on PEP8, and all of that. But the thing, what was I getting at that? Oh, in that page, so if you go to the docs, there's a getting started for developers, and I've actually copied my, oh wait, sorry, if you go to practices, and go to style, I've copied like how I set up my Sublime so that it calls me out on stuff. And also draws the line so you can see where you should be breaking code. So yeah, so if you guys could actually give like this a try, and if it's not sufficient for the docs, then we'll beef it up, but that would be helpful. The other thing, okay, so make sure you're indenting with spaces. I think everybody is, and if you go on Sublime, it should show you in the bottom. So indent using spaces.
Sometimes for some reason it doesn't trigger and it leaves some tabs and then pages. It's weird, but yeah.
You can also, like, for example, if you had it mixed, you can convert indentation to spaces or tabs if it got messed up. So this is something subtle, but also, again, for consistency, for blank lines. So there's 2 before a new class, 1 in between new methods.
So how about in like a, when you're writing the code, like you got a if statement, or so people have a different style.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I have my own style.
Yeah.
But it's probably good to have a little bit of like, yeah, I'm not sure that's too much details. Is that kind of fine? Like whatever you like.
I mean, okay, so like, I guess I don't want to get micromanaging in that level, but like you can use indentations to make sure that things are clear, or like spaces to make sure that things are clear. So if you want to offset a code block, insert a new line. I think that's
in that level, that's fine. Like
yeah. And then we can look on the individual pull request and just say like, hey, this looks strange. Can you, and we can chat about it then. So imports, when you're importing different packages, just import them separately. This is actually really helpful if something goes wrong for error messaging and stuff like that, because it'll hit the right line. But if you're importing multiple things from a given package, you can do that. That's fine. There's some stuff on white space. Their Sublime linter should pick up on this. Like, don't do that, basically. Yeah. So, same thing with lining up equal signs. This would drive LDAD crazy. But actually, as long as like everything's written like that, it's actually not too bad.
Is it so a matrix form?
Yeah, because he always does this.
I know, yeah.
Linear algebra.
Okay, so the other things, usually they also recommend like for if statements and definitions and stuff like that, just after the if, do a new line. That helps with readability. There's some stuff on comments, like if you're going to use them, make them useful, otherwise don't use them, is that comment. And then, okay, naming conventions. This is important.
That's important.
Okay, so there's a few different things. Can you guys read that okay? Is that too small?
I think I'm fine.
Okay. So in general, if you're naming a function, like it should be, or a class or something like that, it should be pretty self-evident what it's doing. Same thing with input variables and like keywords and stuff like that. It should be pretty obvious what its role is. So there's a few different cases that they're gonna talk about. So the ones are to pay attention to here are lowercase with underscores. Uppercase, well, those ones are for global variables really. And then camel case and mixed case. They don't recommend ever doing capitalized with underscores. So we're gonna pick one or the other. So this, unfortunately, like when we started SimPEG, we didn't know about a lot of this stuff. So right now we're not even remotely in line. But hopefully all the new stuff that we add is in line, and then we'll go back and fix things at some point. So class names should always be like camel cased. So if you're combining words, we can use interchange capitals and lowercase, no underscores in class names.
What do you do, for instance, if like get a grad where you end up with two capitals next to each other? What do you?
That's something. So those actually we should not be naming with camel case as much.
Okay.
Function names we should be trying to use lowercase with underscores.
Underscores.
In the case of something like get A, because A is actually referring to a matrix, like that is something that I think we should break the convention and do either get underscore A. Or what we could actually do, and this might not be a bad idea, is like get system matrix. It's a little more verbose, but it's actually very explicit. So. Sorry?
It relies less on a certain
naming convention. Perfect, yeah, that's good. So basically not two capital letters next to each other, we try to do something else.
Yeah. And then functions should be, so functions should be lowercase. Try not to use the mixed case, basically. Let's see.
Okay. Nothing. So we're doing that a lot right now, I guess. So start with the lower and then do a camel with the lower number.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we should try and like get to
lower
use
with underscores or camel. Yeah. Gotcha.
I think that's all that I really wanted to talk about here. It's worth sort of just breezing through this, and there's a few other things that are helpful. Do you guys have any questions on that?
No.
Okay. So once we actually like get discretize and SimPEG closer in line with PEP8, we can actually run tests to make sure that names and stuff like that are good. But right now that's not worth doing because we are so out of line with it. It should not be helpful. So, okay. So that we've done. Do you guys want to take a look at the pull request or jump into properties or?
Well, let's take a look at the pull request because like that'll give us some sort of like a big picture of where we are.
Sounds good. Okay, so let's see. I think this is where. Okay, so this comes to like variable names. One of the things I realize we use lokes as shorthand everywhere. I sort of suggest getting away from that. I don't know what other people's thoughts are.
I'm totally fine.
Okay.
I just fine. I think I'm just following what we are using because
Yeah.
that's what we're using for every single class and also
Yeah.
source class. So.
Yeah.
It makes longer things, but now we're all using tab provisions, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Because I guess like what I'm trying to think of is when we're getting to like, there's a lot of people who are trying to pick up the code base, and if everything is R shorthand, it's like
You need to
it's
run
really hard
that
to
jargon.
jump into. Cool.
Even though some of the properties are named to it too, right? You're looking at the survey or the receiver objects.
Yeah.
The
So-
functions are actually get looks, like it's not just the variables we're passing around inside.
Yeah.
So,
So I actually think that we should start changing those to like get locations. Yeah,
I don't really mind one way or the other, but
we should.
how it looks. How could we misinterpret that and not know what it was?
I think that one of the biggest cases is for somebody who English is a second language. And if we shorthand lots of words, I could see that just getting confusing rapidly.
Yeah. And then it's a kind of stack of things, right? Like it's just not that one thing, but like there are multiple things happening. So at one point it just like blow up. So
even with local variables, trying to write out multiple words.
I mean, it doesn't have to be like extremely verbose, but it should be pretty clear what it is. And if we just use a full word rather than a.
But yeah, I think at least some sort of like a front end variable, like
Yeah.
a location, that's actually very fundamental things like you have to set. So I think here, probably using that property class, this actually helps, right? It has the documentation, what the variables are.
Yeah.
And also setting the name kind of pretty clear, I think that makes it really clear. So no like confusing. Right? I kind of like it, and I want to use that property class. I wasn't really sure how to actually use it. So yeah, it'll be good to have a little bit of like a tutorial.
Sure.
Here.
Yeah, we can go over it in the mesh class, I think. Oh, this is also an important thing. So when printing error statements or warning statements, try and always also include what the user input. So instead of just saying invalid input, you should do this, tell them what they told you. Because that, especially when you're dealing with like, if you've set up an entire forward simulation and it's erroring somewhere way back here, you may have no idea what you input. So that's, yeah.
That's a very good idea.
Yeah.
That's great.
Hey, do we want to divide and conquer now, like, so before we go through the rest, so we know what we're going to be tackling in the later today? That'd be a good idea.
Sure.
Put my brain in the framework class to be done.
Sure. Do
People already have stuff that they want to take on.
Yeah. Do you want to actually even just like go and, I don't know, put a
flag if you want to do it.
Yeah, a thumbs up on if you're gonna tackle a specific piece, and then we know what'll be tackled versus not.
Like, I guess for me, like I changed a lot of static utils and way better shape than before, but like and I did a lot of PayPay too on the code I got touched.
Yeah.
But you made a lot of comments also on the PayPay and all the naming convention in that
Yeah.
file. So I guess I'm gonna focus on this all this convention and also doing PayPay on the code I didn't touch before.
Okay.
And the second portion, and for the static util, like maybe look at the IO and survey design class to make it self-consistent, also the differences and so that we don't have like three different geometric factor functions.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess that's what I'm gonna be packing.
Okay, that sounds good. One comment regarding, just like high level comment regarding organization of utils and then using those in classes and stuff like that. In a lot of cases, if there is something like a geometric factor that is a standalone util that can be treated as a function, write it as a simple function in a util somewhere, and then just call that from whatever classes you need. Yeah, that's sort of the easiest way to use those things.
And also because like now I have like all these small function.
Yeah.
But it's also tested. So like if we inherit from
Yeah.
the other functions, it's like we test or maybe
Yeah.
tested.
And then there's only one thing that we have to maintain. That's always the goal, is one thing to maintain. Cool. Okay, so do you guys want to go over properties now and then start? Okay. Hey, Devin.
Hey.
We were just chatting about, yeah, no worries. We were just chatting about Pepe stuff. So I sent around a link on Slack. And so we can fill you in further after we get going.
Yeah, like I've been using the linter.
Yeah, cool. There's a few more guides and just like useful things in the document, so it's worth taking a look. Properties. Okay. I think that's the docs. That was not the docs. So, first of all, if you've not seen properties or like looked at the library, that is one to check out. They've done a really nice job with their docs, so it's actually like it's pretty transparent what to do. So what I'll show you, maybe there's two things I'll show you. I'll show you what we've done in the mesh class. And I also want to show you what we've done in the regularization. And I think that'll also point to why the changes that were made are now breaking the regularization. So let me just make sure that I am on. Perfect. So properties, what the purpose really is actually bringing in strongly typed variables into Python, and also coercion and checking and validation and all this sort of stuff. So strongly typed means that like we're going to enforce assumptions on variables. got muted.
Oh, there you go.
Sorry, I don't know what happened there.
Oh, no worries, no worries. I just didn't want to interrupt.
Oh, no problem.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, feel free to interrupt. It's good for us to make sure it's
Oh.
being captured as well.
Oh, it just happened, so yeah.
Yeah. So,
And so in mesh class, what
Yeah.
are the properties? Like what's the, it's like that's the minimal amount of information that you need to store.
so the thing that we can do to see that is mesh.serialize. So here, the properties, we have our number of cells in each dimension. We have our cell width, and we have x naught. And so that's everything that I need to recreate this tensor mesh. So, because what I can do is discretize load mesh. Maybe not. Oh no, if I were to save this, so that's something we should do. So if I save this, what we can do, mesh.save. So I saved the mesh. And so let's start mesh.json.
Okay, thanks.
So then here, if I look at that mesh again, the same thing.
So that means, for instance, let's say I want to run a DC4 simulation, then all the, like if I set all the required parameters
Yep.
as a properties, then I can basically use serialize to whatever input file.
Yeah, and so this is important when thinking about I/O, because this is our I/O, basically.
That's not going to serialize and save things like your operators, isn't it?
No, but it doesn't need to, right?
Right, but like for the, I was just thinking like the octree class right now, one of the most time-consuming parts of it
Yeah.
is setting up operators.
Yeah.
So like we were thinking last week that there was an easy way that we could just kind of save those operators and just load them.
Yeah.
So that we didn't have to recreate them every time we wanted to run a script. We run a script.
Yeah, that's something that we could do. So we could add an option that's like save these certain operators. That kind of thing is totally possible. Yeah.
Is serialize a method that you wrote specifically for a mesh object, or serialize comes from a package?
Serialize comes from properties.
Right. But,
Okay.
But can you show me in the mesh class, because we need to have some sort of a wrapper, right?
No, I have not wrapped. Serialize is from properties. I inherited it. I didn't touch it. I wrote
Oh,
mesh.save.
Right, so I see, because like a base mesh class inherited the properties. So
Yeah,
it actually has
so we
that.
get that.
Nice.
Okay.
So I wrote mesh.save. So all that does is dumps the serialized JSON into a file. That's it.
Nice.
So serialize basically will give you the list of all of the properties and basically what those are
What their
filled in
value
with.
is. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's cool.
I didn't know that it's a mesh when it saves to the JSON. There's fragments of it. You are a mesh or a base mesh.
Right now, yes. So we serialize the class as well. Yeah.
So I see.
Yeah. One of the things that we should add to this is actually serializing the version. I've done that in like my casing stuff, and that's handy because then if we update the version and something goes awry, we can figure that out as well. But for now, I mean, we shouldn't be changing too many of these things, so you can start to play with this a bit.
It also sounds, so you're less, yeah, you want us to kind of use this properties package instead of kind of doing it manually, because there's a whole bunch of kind of fancy things that we can do with it.
Well, you don't have to use it for everything, but use it where, like, if you're thinking about writing a class, and you're saying, like, for example, H. H is something that I need to define this mesh. If I don't have it, the mesh does not exist. That's when you should use properties. It's sort of a bare minimum. Yeah.
Yeah, because I guess in my case, I think I have like a giant linear operator or something like that, but that's important. Basically, you can't solve the problem without it. So I think I might have, I don't know if I defined it.
I don't think you necessarily want to use it in that case. These are like the minimum elements required to set up the class. So these are all the things that I need to actually set up everything else that follows. So for example, I need H to build my CellGrad. But I don't have, like, the CellGrad does not have to be saved. I can always
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm just trying to remember how I define stuff.
But I think you could be smart enough for that type of stuff because like you could store your sensitivity and then just point that.
Yeah. And then this is kind of neat, this mesh.validate. It's interesting. Oh, so I actually broke some stuff in there. So well, I'll have to go fix that. But the validators, so what they do, they'll actually go and basically check all of your assumptions on this. So it
I think things are frozen, or I can't hear anything.